In today's Leeds news, Marc Roca talks to the Athletic on Leeds, the Premier League, and Jesse Marsch. International break details. What's left for Gracia to work with? Noah Okafor said to have held talks with Leeds. Hiya folks, Jer here at The View. Wednesday, the 22nd of March, and we're going to fire into things. There's not a lot. It's getting quiet. It's going to get quieter. I know it is. And we're going to talk about a few bits and pieces. And we'll start off with talking about Marc Roca. And he's been having a conversation with The Athletic about, well, pretty much all things Leeds. And what he has said on a few different pieces, talking about Javi Gracia and Jesse Marsch's differences, talking about the Premier League as a club, and also just talking about Gracia's methods as a manager. So interesting stuff. You can catch the full article over at The Athletic if you want to check that out. But in short, basically on Gracia's methods, this is what he has had to say. He said, it's a balance of strict and fun. We're training a lot on possession. We want to improve a little with the ball, and we have more possession during games, but we want to be stronger in the boxes as well. Leeds under Jesse Marsch obviously weren't a big possession-based team. It was very much a pressing style and, counter-pressing and pressing and counter-pressing again. We have seen a change in the Gracia. We've seen them dropping off an awful lot more. We've seen the low block and the mid block come into play as well. So it's very much a different style. We did hear other players say during the week that Gracia is asking the players to have more time on the ball and not to move it as quickly because he trusts them as good footballers. So that's been interesting. I always like to hear the players talk about the differences and where they were playing and what club they were at and country they were at, and then moving to the Premier League and seeing the differences there. And Roca has been chatting about the Premier League as well. And what he's had to say about the Premier League is this. He said, it's another type of football, but I'm enjoying it a lot. Box to box, the crazy matches, the pressing, the intensity, what you feel on every pitch and in every stadium. The crowds are always full. It's an incredible experience. This is one of the reasons that you look at, I suppose, clubs like Leeds who are down the bottom half of the table, or second half of the table, the bottom half of the table, and wonder why they can attract players that are with top clubs in Europe and that as well. And it's down to things like this. It's down to packed stadiums, down to atmosphere. I'm not sure the crazy matches are for every club. I think it's just maybe a Leeds thing that he's experiencing, but hopefully that calms down in the next bit if we do manage to stay up. And the interesting piece on this is the piece around Jesse Marsch in particular. There's a couple of players been chatting about Jesse, and we'll cover some of them tomorrow as well. But he's been asked about the differences between Jesse Marsch and Javi Gracia, and what he's basically said about it is this. He said, I enjoyed it a lot under Jesse. We did a lot of things well, but sometimes the results are just not coming. And he said, and sometimes something has to change. Now with Javi, the performances are also good. So I think he's connecting dots there between, the desire to go and win games and a performance, results and performances. Whereas with Gracia, now we're seeing results and performances going together. In some cases, results without performances, which is huge. Where under Jesse, it needed to be a big performance to get a big result, and they weren't always as consistent as we would have liked. So it's an interesting insight. Max Forward's talked about him as well, and we'll talk about that tomorrow because I need news for tomorrow. So we're going to talk about Max Forward tomorrow. I hope that's okay. International breaks come up, and we talked about this on Joe's show, and we've talked about it with Alex on the American Leeds podcast as well. And what we basically said is, with the Nations League games, they're kind of, slightly more competitive friendlies, which is what the Nations League is by design. But you kind of wanted to hope that Leeds players didn't get called up for international duty in this particular situation, so that Javi would have 2 good solid weeks of the players back to back to work with them. And it's not been the worst case scenario. So, we'll go through this and like McKennie and Melier obviously are gone. Like they're 2 of your more higher profile ones. Leeds have a total of 13 players that are away international duty. And the breakdown of that is there are 6 players. It was 5. It's now 6 with Christensen getting called up. 6 players that are away international duty at senior level, and 7 players that are away at underage level. So from under 21s down. And which sounds like an awful lot, but who has gone? Liam Cooper, Max Fober, Willie Gnonto, Weston McKennie, Brendan Aronson, and Rasmus Christensen are all gone. You would feel that maybe there's not an awful lot left for Gracia to work with, but actually when you look at what's left, and particularly who is left, it's quite a good pool, and it's quite an important pool. If you look at what is left at Leeds, you've got Robles, Ayling, Firpo, Cox, Stroke, Rocket, Harrison, Sinistera, Greenwood, Bamford, Rodrigo, Rutter are all still there. The big ones for me in an attacking sense are having Sinistera, Greenwood, Bamford, Rodrigo, having them still there to work on the areas that Leeds will want to work on from an attacking perspective and from an attacking front shape perspective. And then defensively, you're pretty much only missing out on Cooper and who's Cooper? Cooper and Christensen. So the back four and Bober, sorry. The back four pretty much, you've got like the Stroke there, you've got Robin Koch there, you've got Firpo and Ailing there. So the bulk of the back four is pretty much kept intact as well. So there will be opportunities to work on that. The middle of the park is the bit that's kind of missing, but Roca is still there, which is good. But obviously, missing McKennie. Adams is injured and Aronson is gone. So there's still a lot there to work with, and we still should see some improvements. It'd be nice to see Sinister and Bamford get their legs back over the next 2 weeks so that they can get ready for the final push. And what you don't want to see over the next 2 weeks are anyone coming back from international duty injured, or players that are training at Leeds picking up minor knocks or niggles. And you're hopeful in that bracket as well. You see maybe the likes of Adam Forshaw come back into that mix. I know massively injury prone, but if we can get Adam Forshaw in the mix for the run, I think he's a good player to add to that as well, and will definitely help us if we can get him back fit. And move on to the main story today, and it's rumor mill territory, so pinch of salt. But this is coming from slightly more credible sources than the usual. It's not just some dude on Twitter asking this, but it is some dude on Twitter also. According to Mo Ibrahim, the dude on Twitter, who works for Sky Italy and is also part of the Calcio Mercato team as well. And what he has been saying is Leeds have reportedly been holding talks with Red Bull Salzburg attacker Noah Okafor. Okafor has been linked with Leeds several times over the last 2 transfer windows. And according to Sky Italia, and according to Mo Ibrahim, Leeds did scout the player at the back end of last season. He's had a really strong season, as you would expect, with Salzburg, but he also has had a very strong season in Europe as well, scoring some absolute crackers in big profile games there as well. He is 22 years of age, so it's a really good age and a young age. And his contract does expire at the end of next season. And what Fabrizio Romano has said previously is that Noah Okafor will look to leave Salzburg this summer. So the fee that's being talked about is in around 26 million. But what Mo Ibrahim has had to say about this is the following. He said, I also understand that Leeds United have held talks over a potential deal and that they've scouted the player towards the back end of last season. Tottenham Hotspur are also said to be interested in the player as well, and that might carry slightly more weight if they can guarantee European football for the player next season. It'll be interesting to see what Leeds have done. The fact that Leeds have moved early and gone to try and hold talks, similar to what they did last season with Brendan Aronson at this point. There's no reason why you can't hold talks, get deals done in the closed window period, and then that player joins in the open window. Okafor will be a big signing for Leeds and probably being looked at as a long-term replacement for Patrick Bamford, who it appears Leeds are trying to get a out-and-out number 9 replacement for either Rodrigo or for him for the end of the season. Personally, I'd like to see Rodrigo stay for another year under Javi. I think he'll do really well there. And that's going to be it pretty much for today, folks. Thanks as always for watching and tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow morning for more Leeds news. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.